Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with CircWorks, and this is day 6 of 100 days of making comics. What is 100 days of making comics, you ask? Well, it's when you say to life, whatever you're going to throw at me today, it doesn't matter, because I'm going to find at least 30 minutes a day to work on comic books, my own personal comic book projects in particular. So that's what I've been working on for more than 30 minutes today. Luckily, I did get a lot of work in. It's weird because it kind of seems like you don't get as much work done as you do, because it's not all on the page. It's not all something that you can look at and see or touch. A lot of it's just thinking, especially in these early stages of the comic book. Yesterday we talked a little bit about pacing. I showed you some of these, what I'm going to call pre-roughs or pre-thumbnails, before I actually do my thumbnails, just to try to plot out each beat of the story, so I know what I can fit within these 22 pages and how to break everything up, because I have an idea where the stories are going to go. I just don't know how much we're going to fit into issue 3 of this comic, which is, by the way, a little plug, Young and the Dead, no zombies allowed, available at circworks.com, shameless plug. Anyway, so on to talking about these pre-thumbs. I did another you can't see any of this stuff again, and you can't read it, but just to kind of show you there is something there that you can that I can decipher. And then I've got what looks like 5 more blank pages, which now I'm at the point where I thought I was going to have more in this issue 3 than I actually have allotted for, as far as the page count and everything like that. So I'm re-tinkering things and trying to find a different ending, because the ending that I originally had, which was another cliffhanger, which I usually try to leave each issue with the cliffhanger, that can't happen yet because there's still so much that I've got to kind of cover. So I've got these 5 pages. I think I've got sort of a way to end this issue. But one of the main problems is right here towards the end. This is probably not the best place for it. I have a lot of exposition that I have to deal with to inform my characters of some things that are going on. And so today I'm thinking, how to best handle exposition, because you don't want to just have somebody explaining to another character, oh, well, this is this and that is that, and it gets sort of boring. So what are some clever ways that we can get a lot of information across that the characters need to know? And that's a good point, that they need to know, because if it's not that important, it's probably best to leave it out, especially in a comic book where, if you're like me, and what I'm finding is there's so much stuff you want to say, but you kind of have to condense it down, because this isn't, I suppose if you're working on a graphic novel or something like that, or a long form comic book, you can spread that out a little more. I'm working on an issue to issue sort of format, which I probably will in the end collect as a trade paperback or a collection. But for now, it's kind of issue to issue. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to say, but unfortunately, I have to look at things and say, well, that's really not that important. Let's get rid of that. And that goes for almost any art form, whether you're working in movies as an editor or whatever. There's always, you always kind of look at that cutting room floor and you're like, dang, that was kind of cool, but unfortunately, it doesn't really serve the story. So in order to serve the story, my characters are presented with, and I think I've mentioned this before, but they're presented with this folder, and it has some information, a lot of information that they have to get to another character to help decipher about how to stop, or how to find a cure for this zombie outbreak. There's also some disc with some additional information that will kind of end up, and this isn't a huge spoiler, but it'll kind of end up being sort of a treasure map. They have to go to this kind of research facility and navigate through a series of, kind of like if it was a spy novel, like a Mission Impossible, you find yourself, finding ways to navigate through these corridors and things like that, and you know, I don't know if they'll be, you know, like the laser beams that you have to go under, but that type of thing. They've got sort of this map that they've got to decipher. So this stuff is all contained in this folder. They're meeting with this guy who's going to help. He's kind of a computer whiz, and this takes place back in the 80s. So, and we'll get more into this as I develop the story. But the computer technology wasn't as great back then. But as far as the time goes, he's a computer whiz. He's going to help him figure that out, and that's kind of where we're at towards the end of the story. And I don't just want him to say, oh, thanks, I just deciphered this disk, here's the information you need to know, this is what it means. Again, how to handle exposition. And I've kind of dealt with this before. My previously in issue 2, we started talking about what this particular virus is and how it behaves and how it affects people. And instead of just having the characters just, you know, talking heads back and forth, learning about this stuff, I've kind of worked some action into it. So you can see right here, if you see they're kind of battling some zombies, and as they're fighting, instead of just, you know, getting bam, boom, or hey, don't, the normal kind of dialogue that would go off if you're fighting somebody, they're kind of exchanging comments back and forth regarding this whole outbreak and why it's doing what it's doing. So it accomplishes two things. It kind of breaks up the action, so you're not just, you know, you're not just flipping through this thing and oh, there's no dialogue balloons or anything like that. You're just going forward with the story. And so in addition to having a cool action scene, you're also getting some information. So again, it kind of serves two purposes. So that's one way you can kind of handle exposition. What I'm trying to do is with this character that they're meeting up with, and I haven't really fully designed him or developed him, but I want him to be interesting. So if he is having to explain certain things, I want it to be done in a way that you're not going to be bored listening to. So for instance, you know, if you have a character like Morgan Freeman where he could read the phone book and it still be entertaining, something along those lines. I'm thinking something a little more eccentric for this character. So that's one thing I'm thinking about. The other thing is kind of the build-up. As the audience, I'm kind of laying the groundwork for certain things along the way, so the audience wants to know this information. It's just not being dropped on them. Oh, here's some things you need to know for the story. You want the audience to actually be thinking and like, well, why is this doing this and this? So in the beginning of issue 3, which I've sort of I've scripted a little bit, and I have a general idea. There's something in the beginning where you learn something with a different character about this zombie virus, and you see that it's not like you would typically expect a virus from a zombie movie to be. It behaves a little differently. So hopefully the audience at that point will be, or the readers, however, I don't know if you call them audience readers, whatever. They'll be like, well, that's different. Whoa, what is that? And we kind of leave it there and for people to think about. So later on in the issue, when we learn a little more about it, then you're like, oh, I see. So you're kind of wanting that information. So that's another thing you can do. As far as when I was talking about this other element that's sort of this treasure map, or this way to navigate through this sort of research facility to find what they're looking for. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing is, like, you can do, like, another way to handle exposition is like a flashback. So maybe you kind of you flip back in time. So I'm thinking about possibly in this file that has maybe a video cassette or a disc or something, with maybe a video, and we kind of watch some of that video and we learn some more about that. You know, we'll handle the exposition through that. What else am I thinking of? I guess the other thing is, the good thing about, I think the way I'm hopefully handling this the right way, is that the characters themselves are learning about the information that they need to know as the audience is, as the readership is. So it's not just one character that already knows knows what's going on explain to the other characters who don't, and then you're finding out like this. All the characters, when this happens, when I go into this exposition and we explain again key points that you're going to need to know for the plot of the story, everyone is learning that at once, so they're just as surprised as you are, hopefully, and hopefully that'll come through. And yeah, hopefully it'll all work out. I mean, this is all a learning thing for me. A lot of these challenges I haven't really dealt with before. So yeah, if you guys have any way that you handle exposition or plotting the storyline, or if you have any other ideas like that, please leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Speaking of the YouTube channel, I did get a comment. Somebody was asking about if I had an online store. Yes, I do, and I realize that because I'm kind of new to YouTube. I've done a few videos before, but I haven't really concentrated on it as much as I am now. And I kind of made one of the cardinal mistakes that you don't really want to make, is that I went to the About page on my YouTube page and there's nothing there. So I quickly rectified that. Now you can find all the links to all the various social networks that I'm on, my store, all that kind of thing, in the under the, and a little tiny just bio. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but there's a little bio up there on the About section. So, and I usually, with all the other, you know, whether it's Facebooks, G+, all those things, there's usually ways to find my email, all that information. For some reason, because I didn't really concentrate so much on YouTube like I am now, none of that information was up there, so that's there now. So please, you know, if you want to find me on other social networks or talk with me or whatever, or just have some cool stuff to share, you can look me up on there under the About section. Is there anything else I want to talk about before I go today? The 100s, Peter Palmiotti mentioned something as a comment on one of my videos earlier about, I guess he was impressed with some of the presentation that I've done, and I appreciate that. That's kind of something that I think with confidence I can say I'm pretty good at presentation, but there's so much I still need to learn about other things like social networking, and that's kind of what I was explaining. That's kind of the good thing about this, is that even though I'm new to YouTube, I'm new to being in front of the camera, and there's a lot of people with a lot of experience, and hopefully we can learn from each other. I have some skills that you guys might benefit from, and vice versa. So that's what's good about this whole, what we're calling ourselves the 100s, or the hundreds. Which is anyone participating in this 100 Days of Making Comics challenge. So it seems like it'll be a good little group, and I'm sure it'll grow as we go. I guess that's about it for today. Thanks again for following along. Hope to see you, well, I will see you tomorrow. I'm not giving up yet, and hopefully never will, until I reach the goal of 100 days and be further along in my comics. And good luck to anyone else who's doing that challenge. That is it. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. That is all.